I'm late by 2 minutes. Hello, Chocy Chat. It's Friday. It's 15th of November. Is it 15th of November? Yeah, it's 15th of November. It's episode 156. I'm not that late, I promise. I looked at one clock and I looked at the other and went, they've all got different times on. But hello, howdy everybody. How you doing? Billy there, I can see. Love those chocolates today, Billy. Absolutely outstanding. Made chocolates in Switzerland. Ruth, Kendrick, how are you? Lily Chocolatey. Also we got Nettie's joined us. Hello. I'm going to send some waves out. How's everybody doing? I am cooked this week. My voice is gone. I'm tired. It's a brutal week for me this week. Absolutely brutal. Absolutely non-stop. I have not had a minute to myself this week. Ronnie there in Denmark. Hello. Mrs. So Sassy's joined us. Hello, Mrs. So Sassy. It's on a delay, so she won't hear that for a second or two. Greetings from Mexico. Hello, Mexico. We got, who else? Got Michelle there. Tucson, Arizona. Hello. Farmer's wife. Hello. In Kansas. Chocolates by Neander. Lots of Isle Bakes just over the water there in the Isle of Wight. Who else? How's everybody doing? I had a bit of a busy week doing all this stuff. It's all looking a bit depleted up there. I will stock up a little bit more tomorrow. If anybody's waiting, I think there's quite a few colours that are. I've got the colours, just got to label them and batch code them and do all that kind of stuff. So I will get to that this weekend. Not just me, everybody. Let me sell those. I've got some things to show you tonight. I've got a mould tonight that went wrong. And I'll explain why it went wrong. Who else got Temper Demper in Canada? Emily there, Puerto Rico, hello. It's a really beautiful. Fridays are the best day because of the talented, incredible and generous men. You're welcome if that's me. I like sharing, absolutely. I'm part of Chocy Chat's crew as well, actually. People forget that. I know I sit here and I have to kind of run the page and do not have to. I sit here and I have to talk and I don't get to, but I do get to see and talk to kind of my friends in the chocolate world all over the planet. So Friday night's nice for me as well, right? Hi, almost finished work. First market this weekend and the shop open. Stuart, I hope you've had a nice week off. I think you were off for a week, weren't you? God. Rana, hello. Who else have we got? People in Jordan, people everywhere. Fusion Chocolates, Paula, how are you? Chocodelic in Jersey, Judith there, Nadia's Chocolates. Hello, Chocy Chat crew. Good evening, good evening. A very important question about what's suggested grams for personal chocolate bar. 60 grams or less. That's a tough one, actually. 50 to 60 grams seems to be about like the normal choice. I don't know. Like the bar molds that I haven't got them here, have I? These are 90s. Pull a mold out and then they all go crashing down. I think that one's a 95, and I would suggest that's a little bit bigger than a personal size. There's some little ones here that I've been given to test this week. These are 50 gram size. So I had an incredible chocolatier with me this week for a hands-on class who makes their own chocolate. And he makes his own chocolate, but it's bean to bar, but he does the whole process. So he literally does a bean to bar and then goes on and makes all the bonbons. So he does the whole thing start to finish, which is rather incredible. It's quite in awe of that this week, actually. So we've got a whole load of stuff that we're going to taste, and it's just different derivatives of lots of nice nuances, but they're 50 gram size, so yeah, kind of about half that size. I would have thought 50 to 60 gram is an ideal personal size. I don't know, some people eat a pound bar of chocolate, right? So who am I to say? Strawberry Red, hello. Who else got? Mother Baker, how are you, Mo? 23 days but weeks to go. What's that, Stuart? Just wanted to say thank you so much for your Friday evening Chocy Chat. It's been so amazingly helpful. You are absolutely welcome. Strawberry, yeah, Red, yeah, it's been a long time. Chocolate Escapade, I think, you're in Canada, in Edmonton, I think. Please recommend the best dark chocolate for violet and rose creams. I would, do you know, So Tanzanian chocolate, it's a couple of them Mexican as well in terms of variety or growing region. Tanzanian chocolate tends to be very, very fruity, slightly acidic. Very, very good with rose, I think, in my opinion. I also quite like Valrona's Manjari, because again, it's kind of slightly fruity. I don't know if I put rose with dark chocolate, because I think the cocoa mass would over. If I was going to go for something, it'd be like a milk chocolate, like the 41% or 42% Alunga, Kookaburra. That's really, really nice with those rose floral type things, right? Don't put it with a white chocolate, whatever you do. Don't know about dark. I think you want a dark that's kind of 60%, 50-60%, but something that's a little bit fruity, right? So, styling chocolate, Andrew. Yeah, I'm just a gang leader. Yes, I am. I don't mind being a gang leader at all. We're all in the same. But I think some amazing stuff being posted this week, though. I've got to say, absolutely amazing stuff. Truly amazing. Everybody is at like full pace at the moment, aren't they? So I want to send to make a personalised chocolate bar. I haven't had the company yet to make my bars. Yeah, Emily, 50-60 gram. I wouldn't do much bigger than that. And you're making chocolate from scratch, so yeah, 50-60 gram, absolutely perfect. Bruce Noir, hello. Susie Floozy's joined us. Hello. My Stuart saying the next guaranteed day off is Christmas Day. Yeah, I know the feeling. I just have not. I have not stopped this week. I have not stopped between classes and everything else that's going on, and the class that we're organising in Bahrain, as well as all the other things that are happening here. So, websites, finalising that, lots of colours, hugely busy. I think I burnt the candle at both ends this week, well and truly. So, 6 weeks away for Christmas. Yes, it is. When I temper ganache or ganduja with silk, should I add 1% calculated from the amount of chocolate in the recipe, or the amount of the whole recipe? Excuse me. Temper. I do the whole amount. I just find it's a little bit easier for me. So, like, I know what my mould weights are. So, and I did a lot of pralines and gandujas yesterday. I finally finished a collection. I'll put those up on the website when I get a minute, and then all the new menu cards and all that kind of thing that's going in it. I do 1% of the whole weight. I just find it easier to calculate. It doesn't change the fluidity, it doesn't change it by a huge amount, but it's easier for me to just calculate into a bowl and then stir that through. I don't stir it through. You want one of those. It's a flat head whisk. Whisk that in always. I don't normally stir silk in with one of those. I'll use one of those because it's a little bit easier. Just do it slowly, it breaks it up and it doesn't add any air to it, or air bubbles. Don't want air bubbles in chocolate, do we? Naughty air bubbles in chocolate. Erin's there, hello. An old school friend of mine there, Sophie. Billy's saying personal size chocolate bar for him is a family bar. A personal size chocolate bar for me would be, well, I just turn the mould upside down and I'd shell it that way, and then turn it. We're not going to mess around with these three little indents here. We'll just do that side of the mould. Sometimes, if I'm really peckish, we'll just shell that side of it and I'll crack it out. I don't really. I like chocolate, as if anybody didn't know anyway. Bought my mum a Charbonnel and Walker chocolates from London, 56 quid, gone in an hour. They are nice though. They are nice, Charbonnel Walker. Yeah, Stuart, I know. Now is the time that you do the hours, right? I'm not complaining. I'm tired this week. I'm not complaining though. Work's work, and there's plenty of time for me to kind of take a break, and we have those quieter slots throughout the year. I'm a little bit ahead of the curve because where you got, I'm kind of 6 weeks ahead. I'm going to start doing some Valentine's stuff shortly in terms of promoting that, colours and bits and pieces. So we're juggling everything at the minute. It's all fun. Living in gangster paradise. something like that. I'm working really hard to have the kind of life that the girls and the cat have. So can we talk about contact marks? Sometimes the chocolate has retracted as it should, but then come in contact with the mold again. What's the most common reason? Store too cold. Chocolates by Neander. When things are, here's an example, right? I suffer with, there's a mold that I shelled. It's exactly, I had to redo it, right? It's exactly, where are we? It's that one there. I won't touch it. It's that one there. Okay, so what happened was I suffer from, it's a phone call, or I get distracted, or I need to go and do something, or it's an email or something that I need to deal with. I shelled everything, so I sprayed it, shelled it, and this relates to what you're asking there about those marks, all right? And then what happened was I got a phone call. I needed to deal with something. I'd shelled those, left them kind of 10, 12 minutes just to go through that dry phase. And then I always stand mine up and they go in the fridge, stood upright, 2-3 minutes. 2-3 minutes until they start to retract and look like that. Once I see that, then we'll take most of them out. What happened with that one is, that one had like an hour and a half in the fridge. Not a major problem. They all retracted, okay? They all retracted absolutely perfectly, but the problem is they were too cold. So when I brought them back to room temperature, any humidity, any moisture in the air just absolutely clumped on it, okay? But the first thing that happens is they cracked in half. So I didn't flex the mold, but within the mold, I can see all the cracks. And that is, it got too cold, and then it came to room temperature. The first thing they did was crack, and I heard them all go. And then the moisture hit them, the mold filled up with moisture, and now the chocolate's like sticky, okay? So instead of it being too dry, sometimes with the contraction marks, what you want to do is you want to pour the mold, tap the mold. If you're doing tablets, like for this one, you want to pour the mold, and just as I start seeing that skin over, I want to put that into a really cold space, even if it's 8-9 degrees, even 6, 7, 8 degrees. We'll put that into the real cold, just for 2-3 minutes. Okay. If I put that in there for too long, what happens is the mold gets too cold, and then you get condensation, and the chocolate will shrink, which is what retraction is. So it will shrink so that it comes out of the mold, and then it'll all sink back in like it has here. And if I put that in the fridge again now, and I get those to retract, what you can see is it's not very shiny. It's actually quite dull. They say they're not very shiny. They look really dull. They're not glass. They're not really, really glossy. And most of those won't come out, but all the shine has gone off them. And what that is chocolate's always moving. It's always contracting, expanding. Humidity is what makes it sink back into the mold. And humidity can come from not just the atmosphere. Humidity can also come from coming from a too cold a space into a warmer space. It's just too much of a jump. This is like why we say, you go from the freezer, frozen chocolate, into the fridge, slows down that shock, and then from the fridge to room temperature, let it come back to room temperature, and then you can unwrap it. But contraction marks can be a number of things. If you pour the chocolate too cool, as you pour the chocolate, it kind of ripples, and then it sets. If the mold is too cold, that will cause that. I mean, if you looked at it microscopically, as you pour the chocolate, the mold is too cold. When you pour it, instead of it looks like it's flooding out in one layer, but what it does is it jumps, and that's where you get these like kind of, they look like little tiger stripes all the way along it. If you did zoom in on what looks like those marks, you'll see that it's not just one patch, it's millions and millions of tiny little lines where the chocolate's just struggling to ease across that surface. So I wouldn't suggest you warm your molds. You just want to have your molds a little bit warmer. Stack them on a mat, don't have them on a cold surface. I tend to shell with the molds this time of year anyway. The mold will actually be on, I won't shell on this bare table this time of year. Oddly enough, you can't quite see it here, but if you look down the edge of that, this dome protrudes below the surface. So actually it sits on that. So when that's on the cold surface, I see it when I'm spraying. The bottom of it sets very, very quickly. So we will always shell on top of a rubber mat or a silicone mat just to slow down that. It's really about controlling that temperature. The retraction marks are what's left over when the chocolate shrinks, but it's to do with the surface as you pour the chocolate across, right? Hello in West Texas. Hello, hello. Who else got lots of names here? If you're new, welcome. Placing another order so I can get your chocolates. I waited last time for the red pearls and placed my order so quick I thought I had them added and I didn't. I thought you had red pearls in there. There's lots of red pearls. I topped up again this week. All of them are topped up this week. Who else have we got? Hashim there. Hello, hello. Dolce Mara. Forest Road Chocolates. Philip Vieira, how are you? The Amazing Grazing. Gosh, lots of names. Baharach, I can see you. Cynthia. My sister was in Robin Chocolates. She put oil to give it more fluidity. She made a mess. She is going to try once more in Robin with Calibut chocolate once again without the oil. Don't put oil into chocolate. Oil is liquid. The difference between a fat and an oil. So oils are liquid at room temperature. Fats are solid at room temperature. If you add an oil to chocolate, it will give you great fluidity, but it will never set, and it will continue just to be very, very liquid. Don't add oils to chocolate. It's not a nice thing. Not a good thing at all. Yeah, as I said, Emily, the oil that's in there, it won't set, so the chocolate will try and stay still, but because of the fluidity, whatever you try and dip, it will just completely run off. It's very difficult to temper chocolate that's got oil in it as well, right? I know we had an entremont that we did years ago, and the recipe required us for like dark chocolate. It then had hazelnut paste put into it, and then hazelnut oil. When we put the hazelnut paste in, it used to cover the little petit gâteau absolutely perfectly. We only discovered this because somebody forgot to put the oil in. It's like, well, it worked this time, and then when we put the oil in, it didn't stick. It literally, all of it slid off the cake. So horrible lesson learned. Yeah, tough disaster that. So chocolates by Loney, how are you? Sandra. I thought you were, Aaron, I thought you were waiting for the red ones. Sure you ordered a red one. Anyway. Philip Vieira, hello, hello. Philip, did you resolve your issue in Austria of opening? I kind of remember seeing a post. I can't remember what you said. Kate Mudge, you work with William. I know William. I worked with William years ago. Marco Pierre White days. He was a young lad, same as me. He did this really cool. If you see William, say hello. None of us could understand him because of his accent. I'm not gonna lay into any other stories, but he had this dessert he did, which was, I think it was called a cherry apple. Really clever, really, really clever little dessert he did. I like William. Lovely little shop in Mayfair as well. Really, really nice. I saw a video of somebody enrobing ice cream and thought it was the same process. Emily, yeah, it's a similar process. The problem is when you dip ice cream, the reason they put oil in it is so that they don't give it, the ice cream doesn't get covered in such a thick layer, and then it gets frozen, so everything solidifies. But it's so they don't get such a thick layer, because if you took an ice cream and dipped it in, 823, 811, the layer would be so thick you wouldn't be able to bite through the ice cream. If you take an ice cream that's been dipped like that and you leave it at room temperature, you will find that the chocolate melts before the ice cream does. So, you can't understand him either. I don't know if I should share this story. So William, well, the days of Marco Pierre White and Canteen, and I think it might have been at the Criterion, but I thought his name was Watt. Because everybody that spoke to him, they're like, what? You can understand him, but really, really nice guy. Philip saying, not yet, sadly. We keep looking for solutions to the Austrian bureaucracy, but we never give up. I read some red tape. I deal with a lot of businesses around the world, and I'm always amazed how I mean, even bordering countries, you're allowed to do whatever you want to do. You can set up a business from home and you can sell chocolate, and literally the next street over, just full of red tape. I would have thought that Austria would relax those in the hope of people wanting to start businesses at home, right? I've made 2 different batches with different dates. I'm selling hand-picked boxes and some are going quicker. What's the best way to manage them with the different dates? God, that's a tough question. I mean, the only way, there's a couple of ways that you can force sales, and that's to put a discount on short date life stuff, or put an incentive in. You know, the difficulty with doing lots of different varieties is you don't really know what's going to sell, right? For anybody that's done markets, I've always said take double the amount of salt caramel that you think you need, and you still probably won't have enough, right? So what the answer is to try and force the sales on the other side. So you can raise the prices on the popular stuff, not something I like doing, not something I'd advise, or you could just ever so slightly discount the things that are moving slowly to bring them back in line. I mean, that's one option. So I made milk chocolate shell, no cocoa butter, sprayed, and it's shiny in some places and dull towards the bottom of the bonbon. Why is that happening? Dolce Mara, that's really to do with cooling. Sometimes pour the chocolate at a warmer temperature. Okay, so pour the chocolate at 32.2, 32.3, as long as it's tempered. If you're adding silk to the chocolate, just pour at a warmer temperature. I see this occasionally, like I'll get 1 or 2 that are dull, but it's more to do with cooling. Once it's gone upside down and it's dried, you kind of want to get it, you want to force it to retract in the fridge as quickly as possible. But I would time it, once it's gone dull, give it like 6 minutes at room temperature stood up, and then put it into the fridge stood up, and you'll find that they'll retract away. Plain chocolate, or just shelling chocolate on its own to get it really, really shiny is it's a challenge. It's a challenge. Do you know, if I did it 20 times, 19 would work, right? And then I'll get 1 or 2 that have got dull spots. I always assumed that it was polishing, but it wasn't, because I know I'd polished the whole lot, right? So it's more to do with cooling and getting that shell to retract quickly. So, but not so quick. I tell you what can cause this. You know where these shells cracked? Okay. What can cause this? If you shell, very often I see this. Let's get one out. Let's get one out. If you see cracks that go down the edge here, wait, it's not going to do it. If you see a crack that goes down that edge, right, across the bottom edge of it. If you shell and the chocolate's wet, if you put the chocolate wet, so rather than it's gone dull, if it's not had time at room temperature to go dull, to start that drying phase, if you go into the fridge too quickly, what happens is bits of the shell get stuck and it pulls away, and it always cracks that mould. It always cracks them. That one, these were all cracked in the middle, perfectly down the middle, because they were in the fridge too long, so they all cracked perfectly down the middle. If I see the crack on that edge there, that's normally they didn't go through their dry phase before they went into the fridge. Bits of chocolate, wet chocolate gets stuck, the rest of the shell contracts, and you always get this, like, looks like an upside down sad face on the shell when you look at it, right? So, how do you make shelf stable liquid caramel? Got some chocolates with liquid caramel centres to try, and I'm really curious how do you make shelf stable liquid caramel? Caramels are shelf stable. Are you talking about how to make? I'm not sure about that question. Rewrite that one. So it's got a liquid caramel centre. I mean, if you've got a really liquid, if you've got a very, very liquid caramel, à l'ancienne type, just a really, really straightforward caramel, just sugar, dry caramel deglazed with the cream, and you kind of leave it there, maybe add a little bit of butter just to thicken it slightly. The only way of closing that is with acetate. so that you get a lovely liquid centre. I like those, and we've done them before. I'll tell you what I don't like is the email you get when people say I bit into it and it went all down my shirt and I felt stupid at the party, and you're like, don't know what to say. Pop the whole thing in your mouth, right? So there should have been a warning on the packaging. We're a short step away of telling people how to eat sometimes, aren't we? I think I've answered that. Is that what you're thinking? Let me know if that's right. Thank you for the guava caramel advice last week. It came out great. You are absolutely welcome. Marie Belair in New Zealand. Donosh Bakery. Hello. Mate James's mould and salt caramel recipe on Insta under recipes. Have a look at the caramel. Yeah, so the mould and salt caramel is quite liquidy. The salt caramel ganache is a little bit firmer. There is, I tell you what I'm sharing this week. I will share a recipe for this week. I'm going to talk to you about subscriptions as well in a minute. That ugly bit, raise your head. That is a raspberry and rhubarb caramel. And I'm going to share the recipe for that this week. And it's right on the edge of being sour, right, as opposed to sickly sweet. So I'm going to share that recipe this week. That smells so nice. It's so nice. Me and Mrs. So Sassy, we gave each other a box of chocolates earlier because we're living the dream, right? Salt caramel ganache the salt caramel ganache on my pages. I think that's pinned to the top of my page. It's a little bit firmer, a bit easier to cap, whereas the mould and salt caramel that's in the recipes, very thin, very liquidy. Can be a challenge to cap. It's worth putting that one in the fridge, just letting it solidify completely, and then capping it very, very quickly. Just do it at 33-degree chocolate, and you'll have a better chance. Caramels can last 2 months in just plain bonbon molds. I would say 90 days minimum. So Philip's saying, although we've done many courses on chocolate making, it's not accepted in Austria. They expect us to do a 3-year baker's course in order to open a business. That's just, that's frustratingly bureaucratic, isn't it? Oh dear. Okay, it's got to be a way around that. Can you hire somebody that has that accreditation to open with? So I'm worried I've not made enough stock. Any ideas how I can manage this? I'm making on days when not at the markets, but don't think I'll be able to make enough. Nice problem to have, I know, but I'm wondering, I don't know. Same for me. Do you know, if I haven't got enough stock, I work later. I don't think there's been a day this week that I haven't started at 6 a.m. and not finished at midnight. And there are nights when I've worked much, much later, me and Mrs. So Sassy. That's the way it goes, isn't it? You have to work longer hours. I think if you're doing this for you, if this is your business, all the hours that you're doing is for you. So I couldn't tell you how many hours I work. Again, tomorrow, or in the workshop, all the melting tanks are full because I've not made colours for 2-3 days because I've had other projects going on and hands-on classes. Tomorrow's just going to be a full kind of 18-hour day of just making colours, start to finish. Like, I'm out of the big whites. I'm out of TR3 white. There's lots and lots of colours that are short here. So some just need labelling. Others actually need making. If you want to up the stock level, work longer hours. That's the problem. And the solution is work longer hours, right? That's a good one there, Paula. For Evelyn, make some chef choice boxes up with the ones that are the oldest to date. Move them on. Yeah, the ones that aren't selling, find a way to make them look more attractive, right? So you either price it better or you describe it better. Try and push people onto it. People like a backstory, right? People like to understand. People select and purchase emotionally. Right, so if they see it and it looks nice, they'll ask a question. If they like the sound of it, they will make a purchase, right? So, like we did with the names, you know how much feedback we get about the names? It's like Caramelito, where did you come up with that? It's like, well, it's caramel, isn't it? It's not a stripper's name. I wouldn't know about that, but Midnight Galaxy, Leaf Cake. We tried to keep the names of it just a bit either tongue-in-cheek or quite memorable, or it is what it says on the can, like the red bricks is the colour of red bricks. I didn't want to get all emotive and just like AI weirdly naming stuff, anthracite and words that nobody can describe. The not quite white is TI free, and guess what? It's not quite white. The white, my white is really white. The not quite white is not quite white, right? So we did that purposefully. Reword things if you need to. Oh, Alex Eats, right, so you mean it's fully liquid at room temperature. Be careful with that, because if your capping isn't absolutely exceptionally good, you're going to have leakage everywhere. Acetate sheet. Have I got any? I haven't got any nearby. I would give that mould a little chill, and then you wanna put the chocolate quite a thick layer onto the acetate sheet, and then lay the acetate sheet on this, and then go over it and give it a squeeze, and then do not touch it. Don't move it. Don't let that chocolate semi-solidify, and then put that into the fridge until it's absolutely rock hard solid. But you want to make sure your shell edges are really, really sharp, and I would underfill them so that you've got a thicker cap, without a doubt. When it's very, very liquidy, caramel can be problematic, right? And if you've got the tiniest hole or crack, or the tiniest air bubble in the shell, they will turn into water in cans. So I'd be very, very careful doing very liquidy caramels, right? Chocolates by any under. What temperature you having your fridge set on for the retraction phase? My fridge is normally set at 8 degrees. I don't normally. Depends what we're doing. It depends what we're doing. Between 8 and 10 degrees. If I'm storing a lot of chocolate, like if I've got lots and lots of, if I've got 100 plus boxes to store, we'll probably set the fridge at 12 or 14. I don't want things getting too cold. But every day, I wouldn't have it any higher than 8 degrees as a rule, because I've got perishable products. We've got butter in there, we've got cream, long life cream in there as well. So I don't want to be storing that at kind of above 8 degrees, right? Because that would tie in line with food legislation. So I've just got to be very, very careful. But yeah, normally about 8 degrees. The temperature of the fridge, like as long as once you've shelled, like with this one here. The reason that went wrong is that went in the fridge for too long. It just went in the fridge for way, way too long. It was probably in the fridge an hour and 10 minutes longer than the hour and 12 minutes that I abandoned it for. Because I got phone calls and it's just things that... Everybody suffers with this, right? And like me more than any. I have to go deal with something, and it pulls me away from, like if I'm in the workshop and I'm pouring colours, I don't stop. I can't, because it will just completely seize on me, and then that's going to be a whole batch ruined. But like with the chocolate, I put it in the fridge and I forgot. If the fridge, whether that fridge is 14 degrees or 8 degrees, that mould is going to go in there. As soon as chocolate drops below 14 degrees, it shrinks, right? It will shrink, right? And they will come out, okay? Any lower than that doesn't do it any faster. It's about all those crystals binding up, all those beta crystals binding up and shrinking, and that's what retraction is. So whether your fridge is 8 degrees, 14 degrees, as soon as that shell dips below 14 degrees, they'll retract. The only thing that you have to watch for is, if you are, like with wine fridges, you open the door, if you put 5 or 6 moulds in there, the temperature might not drop very quickly. I'm frogging my throat tonight. The temperature might not drop very quickly, so like the fridge is struggling, particularly wine fridges. Wine fridges are built to hold humidity, because that's what they need for the wine bottles with cork. They don't want it super dry. So this is why I always kind of say wine fridges are a little bit, they look economically value for money, but realistically in terms of production, you can't put cream in there because they don't get cold enough. You can't use them for retracting or production, but what they are good for is storing a load of chocolates you've already made. So kind of, whether your fridge is 10, 8, 6 degrees, you're putting the moulds in there for the minimum time. If you leave them in there too long, you get what happened to me. And it happens, and I know why, and I just, you know. And then there's another one that I knocked off the shelf, so they shattered all over the ground, and you know, Mrs. So Sassy, Rania said to me, like, you're right. It's like, no, I'm just having I'm going to stop, pot of Earl Grey, collect my thoughts, clean up, and we'll go again, right? Every single time. All the messages have just jumped forward again. 1 second, I've got to scroll back. Oh, 1 second. 1 second. Okay. I don't know why it all jumps forward. Hello, good evening. If you've just joined, raspberry and rhubarb. It's nice. I can smell it from here. It's like I've got my mandatory glass of Ribena with ice cubes tonight, and I'm getting that gentle waft of raspberry and rhubarb. It is nice. There's two flavours that really work well together. So that box of chocolates is gorgeous. They are cute. We got. I tell you what I realised today when I was putting all these together. The boxes come with the blister thing already in it, right? So it's like a complete package. Where I used to line all the boxes up, and I could get 32 boxes on my table, and then I'd just go in and fill them. And with this, I can't overlap more than 2 or 3 boxes, so it was a slightly slower process. But they're as shiny. They are as shiny with the lid on as they are off, so I'm kind of rather proud of that. Nice packaging, quite happy with that, really happy with that. So my next chocolate equipment is a chocolate guitar cutter. Any suggestions on a brand? Why guitar cut? I don't know about brands of those. I think you'd find something quite good value that's an unbranded one in Mexico. Gosh, Philip, you can't be self-taught if you want to do anything official in Austria. That's just not good, is it? Would you ever raise your prices to slow sales? Absolutely not. No. No. You set your prices, because I think that's just kind of rip off to the customer, that, and I will walk away from a brand when they do that. If the sales increase, then, and you need more product, you have an option: you either work longer hours or you employ people to cover the cost of the additional work that needs to be done. I think raising your prices to slow something down, like, imagine for me now, like Fool's Gold and Sparkly Rari Red and White are by far the most popular. But can you imagine if I put the prices of those up in November, just because I wanted to make a £2-3 more per bottle? It's just like business suicide. It's just not something you want to do. I don't want to slow sales down. What I need to do is manage inventory and make sure I've got enough. I think there's probably some books that say, yeah, raise the price. You know, the kind of American capitalism is raise the prices, slow the sales down. No, how about work out the problem and solve it so that your majority of customers can buy it? You will lose customers if you raise the prices midpoint, right? Not a particularly nice trick, that, I don't think. But no, I'd never do that, ever. Melissa's joined us. Hello, Melissa. She's catching up on Chocky Chats, and she's making bark today. That's Melissa Root. You would know Melissa from the, it was the Netflix School of Chocolate. Very good. I like Melissa. One of my favourite chocolatiers. Well, I bought a guitar and quite honestly never use it. They're so hard to clean. They're basses that are metal and the ones that are sort of plastic. The metal ones are more expensive. It's how, for the guitar cutters, it's how rigid they are, and if you can get spare strings with it. And you will need a packet of spare strings, because as soon as you start pressing down hard on a ganduya that's or a slab that's a little bit firm, twang. And if you lose one string on a guitar cutter, you need to stop and you need to replace it. And if you haven't got strings, you're like, right, we'll grab a knife and a big pot of hot water, right? So why a guitar cutter? I would have thought something like an easy temper would give you a more advantage in terms of tempering your bean to bar chocolate, Emily. I would have thought something like melting tanks. Easy temper without a doubt. I would be buying that before I bought a guitar cutter. Or more molds, or more, or packaging. Guitars are crazy expensive. That, like, a good one's going to be a couple of $1,000s, right? You could probably watch the marketplace to find one that's being sold, or one that's kind of, somebody wants to get rid of. So look as well, I've been craving the Caramelita bar all week. I feel like hearing it is a sign I should make. Yeah, you should. I love chocolate gold. That collection's got 3 chocolates, which chocolate gold, and I like it because it bridges the gap between milk and white. And I use the Edelweiss by ICANN because it's a little bit less sweet, very thick, so kind of unfortunately needs thinning down. But I like chocolate gold because it's just in between. It's not got the heady notes of darker chocolate, but it's that bridge between white and milk chocolate, and I kind of rather like to be in that in between area, right? House of Desserts, good evening from Innsbruck. So House of Desserts, I share lots of stuff of House of Desserts. Really, really lovely, really lovely chocolatier, really amazing painting and design. So Bonbon Grid, hello. Miss Tiff's Caramel, how are you? It's been a while. Ellen there, hi Ellen. It's Ellen. It was Ellen. I think it was Ellen's birthday yesterday. Everybody say happy birthday to Ellen. So good answer, Erin. Jennifer's joined us. Yeah, guitar cleaning them is just cleaning guitar cutters is just, because if you don't dry them, the next thing you cut is an absolute nightmare. So where did I get the chocolate boxes? We had those made specifically in China. They're a bespoke product. So I have a question regarding packaging. We are trying to get new boxes for the with the blister plastic inside, and the manufacturers asked us to send a dummy plastic chocolate so they can do it by measure. I would honestly, I would just pour solid chocolate into a whole mold and then send those off, but send enough for the size of your packaging. I know somebody sent me a message and said, can I just buy these bits, right? The problem is those bits are for that mold, okay? And then if I get the other dome that I've got, which is 553, which is that one doesn't fit that. It rattles round in it. So the blister pack is not, you need the blister pack that fits the chocolates. And I've got more of the 539, I've got more of that one than I do that one, because we do all our work in that straight-sided one. So it's all part of the same, everything comes together. And they were made, we had them done in 15s because that's what I wanted, and it was bespoke, start to finish, the whole thing. So including the, it looks like gold writing on it, but it's not, it's actually gold, it's reflective gold. Including all the writing on the other side, which you can't read from there, but that's all the allergen information and storage instructions and websites, QR codes, all that kind of things, are part of the long process of getting it done. It's quite a slow process, but worth it. So Is it normal for the packaging to cost more than the chocolate? Can do. It shouldn't do. It shouldn't do. The challenge with packaging is where we bought thousands of boxes, the bigger that number, the lower the price. I think it's a bit like for me with the, you know, people want bespoke colours. People ask for bespoke colours from me, and I say, right, well, yeah, we can do bespoke colours, and it's 8 litres, and they're like, well, no, I can't use 8 litres. It's like, right, well, I've got to change all of the machines over. I've got to change all the machines over. I've got to clean. Some of the pipes are disposable, so when we do a batch, at the end of it, that pipe gets discarded, so that needs paying for. 8 litres is a minimum that I can do efficiently that's worth my effort of changing the machines over. If people want different sizes, I've now got to recalibrate the pouring device. It's not like we throw some stuff in a blender and mix it and go, well, there you go, there's your... There's dozens and dozens of emails back and forth. And if you think about it with the packaging, it's easier for them to set up the machine with that set card with the set pieces, and they'll run off 7,000 pieces. Sufficient. If they only wanted to do 400, they've got to break all the machine down and recalibrate it, and it just takes longer and longer and longer and longer. So the bigger that volume of packaging, the more appreciative the price is. And you know, where we bought many thousands at X price, had we doubled that, it would have come down even more. So packaging should not be worth more than the price of the chocolate. Bearing in mind the price of chocolate at the minute, I'll be amazed if you can get packaging worth more than chocolate. And if you are, look for packaging. Packaging is something you grow and invest into, right? You cheap packaging isn't good, and great packaging ain't cheap. So again, it's one of those things that you invest into. Do you know, I've always said if I was going to start again, I'd have got Easy Temper earlier, just when we were home based, not with the workshop and stuff. I'd have bought more moulds earlier on, but at no point would have I invested. It's only when you start having some money left over from the excess work and product sales that you say, right, well, I'm going to take a chunk of profit, I'm going to reinvest that, and that's packaging. And what we bought, I would expect to last me 6 to 8 months, if not 10 months. If I can stretch that to a year, but I know that come May time, we're going to need to start looking at either a reprint, and do I buy more and get a better deal? And it's the thing with packaging is something that you invest into, right? You have to, you know, we got the printed labels that go in it. There's so many things. It's a long, slow process, but you need to buy the volume to get the good price, right? So we got Nick Arnold. How are you, mate? Is gold chocolate and caramelised white chocolate the same thing? Not quite. So the gold chocolate, it's the milk and the sugar that are caramelised. I've got an iCam, which is a caramelised white chocolate, and it's just the milk powder that's caramelised, not the sugars. And then if you take white chocolate and caramelise it, you get this very grainy texture, which is nice, but it's not as deeply caramelised as the gold, so slightly different nuances to it. So Emma's in Sydney. No, you're in Melbourne. No, you're in Sydney. ES Chocolates, thinking about combining homemade crunchy wafers and tempered chocolate as a base of a bonbon. Do you think there'd be any issues if I don't cap over it? No, I don't. I think it'd be absolutely fine. You mix Fueilletine. Like, if you wanted to cap, the only challenge you're going to have, if you, let me get the Fueilletine to show you. So we got, there's three sizes. There's 3 sizes there, right? There's the fine powder one. There's the large flake still, and then there is one that's not quite as small, right? If I try and cap with that, you can just imagine it would just look like a horror story. But even that one's a little bit too, even that one there, I don't know if you can see the size of that, even that one is a little bit too far. I would powder it down as fine as you can. You can mix into white chocolate, milk chocolate, dark chocolate. It doesn't really matter at all. When you come to cap, what you want to do is you need to warm the Fueilletine and add the warmed Fueilletine, warmed, roughly about the same temperature as the chocolate. Otherwise, when you put the cold Fueilletine into the chocolate, it will almost set. So warm the Fueilletine. Same thing with coconut. You toasting coconut, put warm coconut into the warm ganache. Don't put cold coconut into it, otherwise it will seize and then it doesn't pipe. So if you warm the Fueilletine first, mix it with the chocolate. When you put it on, you'll be able to tap it down and then scrape. The only challenge you're going to have is when little bits of flake get stuck between the mould and that edge there. So you're going to have to scrape a couple of times. But no, it has no effect on shelf life. It will remain crispy. It'll be absolutely fine. Occasionally, for a couple of orders to the spas, we will cap and then we will sprinkle that one, the middle one. Okay. So we'll tap that over, we'll sprinkle that over the cap afterwards, because I know it will remain crispy. But that's just, like, I couldn't put that into a mixed box like that, otherwise it'd be little flakes all over the place. So that will just go sit as a crunchy base for a set product, right? You can put texture on the outside. I've done a video of shelling with the Fueilletine, and I just never got round to sharing it. I need to just go back and have a revisit of that. So, what's the shelf life of the product I make? That one's got 3 months on it. That box is 3 months. That box is 3 months. So, Aaron's answering something. How do you measure and weigh silk? It's set so quickly. You put the bowl on the scales. Do you know what with silk? Keep that in the easy temper, and then I can just lift out what I need. Right? Watch the alarm doesn't go off now. Then I'll put my scales on, and then we'll just get out the amount that we need. What I will do though is I use the lid. So I put it onto the lid first, okay? Then I can scoop a nice dollop that I can put in. So, but this is a tip. Keep one of those in there, because if you leave that out and it gets all crusty, then you'll find little chunks go into the chocolate and you can't get them out. And then when you go to shell, you'll find them. So, you gonna come and say hello? I got 3 little faces at the window here.
Sorry, everybody. Just saying.
Let me just do this one. Oh,
So
where's my
today
paper? Give me a bit of paper. Give me a bit of paper.
Today.
Say hello to Chocky Chat.
Hi, Chocy Chat. Today I went to gymnastics and accidentally hurt my hand again.
Okay, gymnastics. You went to gymnastics
I
and
cut
hurt
my
your hand.
cut.
You cut your cut.
Yes, and then it cut it again. They gave me a plaster.
She just
But
talks
then
and
it
talks and
kept on
talks.
falling off.
All right.
But sadly,
I'm not sure cutted is a real
Wow.
word.
And I worked how many hours today? God, I wish I had your problem.
hours and hours and
Yeah,
hours.
no, Daddy's
Yeah,
doing.
but one thing is that Chocky Chat, we are about to go to bed.
Yes.
And there's a little problem.
Yeah, go then. Really go.
Criminal offence. You just kicked a
I
child
didn't.
on the ground, and that is an
Well,
offence.
have you got witnesses?
Pay me
Any
£12.
witnesses?
Pay
No
me.
witnesses. Pay
Pay
you.
me.
You live here rent free.
Salary
Pay you.
time.
The cat has
Salary time.
You and the cat have a better life than me. Salary time.
Salary
You got to do.
time.
You got to do
£20
work.
at least.
You have to do.
£1.
You have to do work too.
Okay, then
You-
lifestyle.
my
You have
cat
to.
is eating chocolate.
Anyway, so just wanted to say hello, right? And that turned
I
into.
wish I had
See
the
how
life
quickly.
the cat does, because
The life the cat does. Yeah, I'm working really hard to have the kind of life the cat does.
The thing is that I have more details inside of my life, like gymnastics. I need to do that. Study. I need to do that.
She wakes
What
up.
does she do?
Well, she lives.
Exactly.
At, she lives at the top of the curtains at the minute, doesn't she?
Yeah, she
Yes.
really does.
She's there already, so not surprised. We just got her down. She just ran up.
I'm trying to read.
Night night, Chocky Chat.
Yeah. Night.
Bye, Chocky Chat. Just saying, if you buy my dad's chocolate, you might get a free discount on my little mini lessons.
Your mini
My mini Seren lesson.
Mini Seren, what are you going to teach?
I'm going to teach airbrushing and
You're going to teach
how to
airbrushing.
dance.
How to use
make your chocolate
how to use
dance.
Rari Red as lipstick, right? Isn't that the
Hey!
Hey.
That was the You just pushed me
So,
away. More money.
thanks for the tip. You raised a question with the coconut. Would you grind the coconut for ganache? I don't, and it never pipes well. I blend it like if you've got a coffee grinder. If you've got a clean coffee grinder, I would just powder it lightly. It depends on the coconut. Sometimes you get shredded coconut or the desiccated one. Desiccated one, kind of flavourless. If I'm honest, sometimes I even question whether it's coconut or not. It's just a little bit cardboardy, isn't it? You can get the shredded flakes. The trick with coconut, and I think it's on one of my recipes, and we don't consider temperature right. Like with the Fueilletine, if you don't warm it up, you're in danger of taking a chocolate that's at, 31 degrees, and then putting an amount of something cold into it, and it will drop the temperature below the point where you can handle it or use it. Coconut... The biggest challenge is, will it fit through the piping nozzle? Because if you cut the piping nozzle too wide, if it's too thin, it will go everywhere and you can't even fill up the cavities. And if you cut it too small and you get any little bits in there, it gets stuck, which is why I say, if you're using a melanger, put everything through a fine sieve, because all you need is one tiny little nut or piece of coconut in a piping bag. And you squeeze and it goes bang everywhere, and then you just kind of want to give up chocolatiering and go and start doing ice skating or a different hobby, right? Take up the guitar. There's nothing wrong with grinding down coconut a little bit smaller. You just don't want to turn it into a flour, because then that will just soak up everything in a ganache, right? Your children make me smile so much. They make me smile most of the time. They are the bonbon police, believe it or not. You know, I said there's no bonbon police. That was the bonbon police inspector that you just met there. So when I put a new cold jar of cocoa butter in the easy temper, does it affect the first does it? It shouldn't do. On one of the easy tempers, and I don't know which one it is, on one, there's two, it comes with 2 cans. One of the cans is always a different texture to the other ones. That makes sense. So whether that's a heavier tin, thicker tin, the heat can't get through it, I don't know what it is, but they should all come out the same. But in all honesty, one of the machines, 2 cans are exactly the same. What I've never done is empty those 2 metal tins and weigh them to see if there's a difference. Maybe I should do that, but I think I need to identify which of the easy tempers has got that one in now, because they're in production in another place and they are just going full tilt. Talking of, I need to make silk bars. How is Coco? She's living the dream. She's settled in. She's got her own chair. She lives high up on the curtains. She goes outside. She's been stuck up her tree every day this week. I've had to. That might have been part of the reason for that earlier this week. Is, can you get the cat out of the tree? We got palm trees, so they're very easy to go up. Not so good at coming down, right? Not so good at coming down. Right. The whipping cream I buy for recipes often separates. Is there a tip to mix it in without air? You shouldn't be using whipping cream. I wouldn't be using whipping cream for bonbon work. Nowhere near enough fat content. Nowhere near enough fat content. Why using whipping cream? I wouldn't. Yeah, Dolce Mara. Yeah, I thought I was. One thing, because I'm going to go in a minute. So we got subscriptions, right? Not something I really wanted to do. It's not how I make my money. However, for whatever reason, lots of people have subscribed, and on my page there is nothing in there. So what's going to happen this week is, and over the next few weeks, what I'm going to do for the people that are in there, because I kind of feel a little bit bad that they've done, like, some people have done like a year's subscription and there's nothing in there. So and this is not a plea for everybody to go and join the subscriptions. What I am going to do is I'm going to break down all of these, and then on the subscription page is I'm just going to talk through each one, and I'll keep doing that as I do the designs, because I've got all these. Is the colours that I use, the temperatures that I used it at, and the techniques I use to do certain designs, and why I chose. For instance, we did one of these was baby pink, and we used the baby blues and the soft pink, and I used bronze as opposed to gold. And why did I choose bronze? So I'm just going to talk through some of those details. Like, why would I, like with this one here, we sprayed the silver, then I sprayed lime shine behind it, but just before I shell, because I wanted to use that chocolate, is we put just a little bit, just a little dab of blue luster powder, because it gives me a tiny little bit of opacity over the chocolate, right? So these are kind of decisions that I can make as I'm in production. So I'm going to go through that on the subscription side. So there's a little bit more detail for those that have to subscribe, but yeah, I don't know. The subscription thing landed on there, and then whilst the banks and all the rest of it was connected, suddenly I got this influx of people that subscribed and like, but there isn't anything in there. It's like, don't ask me. Anyway, I'm going to go. It's a long day tomorrow. It's making more butter, so the music's going to be up. I hope I've answered enough questions tonight. I've got to try and track back and remember everything that we talked about now. So keep going. It's money making time. Head down. You got to do long hours. You got to do long hours, right? But you should be enjoying it. I know it's hard work. It is hard work making chocolates. It is. It's a real juggle. And I know, and I'm kind of trying to do anything and everything at the minute. So I've got commitments on the chocolate side, and I've got sales, which just kind of dominating everything at the minute, as well as classes and everything else. So these weeks come by so quick. So I will see you in a few hours for the next Chocky Chat, right? That's what it seems like. If you're interested in a class in Bahrain, it's two-day classes. You can go and have a look at the details of that on the website if you know anybody that would be interested in doing that. So certainly send them my way. But Flying Banana, hello mate. Have a nice weekend, Chocky Chat crew. Stay in touch, be nice to people, especially those closest to you. Keep going, just absolutely keep going. You know, 6 weeks till Christmas. You should be like working on getting sales in now and getting the volume done, all right? I will see you in a week's time. Take care.